Ella es Sarina Roffe, una experta mercadóloga, maestra también en Estudios Judaicos. En el 2004, Sarina fundó el proyecto de patrimonio sefaradí para conservar los registros de las comunidades judías sirias, lo que la convirtió en una gran investigadora de genealogía judía. Su gusto por la cultura sefaradí llegó hasta la cocina y creó la primera aplicación para Apple sobre recetas de comida sefaradí. Hoy, Sarina visita México y abre un espacio en su agenda para recibir a Enlace Judío y así poder conocer más de cerca a la mercadóloga, a la genealogista, pero sobre todo a la amante de la cultura sefaradí. Hi Sarina, welcome to Mexico. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Sarina, your job is amazing. As a genealogical researcher, what is your major thought and learning in this field?
I believe that preserving Sephardic culture and heritage is imperative, not just important, imperative to the future of our community. Because to know where you're going, you have to know where you're from. You must have a foundation of where you're from. In the Torah, there are 433 genealogies. We read it from so-and-so beget so-and-so beget so-and-so. So we see from there that it's very important to know your genealogical history so that you can have a foundation of your past, your family's past, and then be able to pass that to your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. I believe it's very important to have a written record of your family history. Not just the data, the when, who was born when, but what they did, why they may have emigrated, why they traveled to different places, anecdotes about their lifestyle and their family beliefs and the philosophy of raising children, experiences they have had, their travel, their business, their accomplishments. All of that, I believe, is important because it provides a context for the family history.
And if there is a community that has moved a lot, it's the Jewish people. This must make your job more difficult, right?
But it's so interesting because travel records you can find. But the reason why people travel, that's what's more interesting. For example, I did my father-in-law's family history, and I saw that his siblings were born in 3 different places. 4. One was born in Tangier, one was born in Oran, Algeria, the next 3 children were born in Buenos Aires, and the last 2 children were born in Casablanca. Why? There's a story there. And we dug and we found the story, and we found out why they went to all the different places. And that provided a rich history for the family. So those are the kinds of things that I look for.
Is there any place in the world where Jewish people have never settled?
Jewish people are found all over the world, every place. There's really no place in the world that Jewish people haven't settled. Sephardim, on the other hand, are in many, many countries, but not every country.
The worldwide Jewish community has a great range of cultures. I know this is a difficult question, but what culture do you like the best and why?
My research focuses on Sephardic Jews. But Sephardic Jews come from many countries. And what I love is exploring and understanding the different traditions, the different minhag of these communities. For example, at Pesach, Syrian Jews use haroset made from dates. But Moroccan Jews, it's slightly different. Greek Jews, it's slightly different. They put oranges. Some put figs. So I look at the Persians, I look at the Turkish, I look at all of the different harosets in my cookbook, and I see that they have many, many different ingredients. And it's interesting to see how they flavor them. Some with cinnamon, some with coriander. So I love to look at the traditions. The Syrian Jews at the Seder, they take a sack and they put it with their right hand over their left shoulder, and they say a prayer and they're asked 3 questions. Where do you come from? Egypt. Where are you going? Israel. What are you carrying? Matzah. Moroccan Jews don't do that. Moroccan Jews, they take the Seder plate, and the head of the Seder walks around the table and he takes the plate and he puts it over the people's head and he sings a song. And he does that for each person. He goes around and he sings the same song. And then he sits down. So these traditions are a very important part of our culture and important to preserve.
Sure, diversity of our traditions enriches our culture.
Yes.
Sarina, you are also a Sephard food cooker, and you actually created a Sephard recipe app. Tell us how this app works.
One of the things that I've noticed is that the young girls today, when they get married, nobody is there to teach them the traditional foods. They want to eat the foods, but nobody is there to teach them the foods. So the idea of my app was that you should be able to watch videos and understand how to make the difficult foods. Who will teach you how to curl the sambusak, the edge of the sambusak? Who will teach you the curl?
Grandma.
If she knows, some of them they didn't learn. Sometimes they're not around anymore. Who will teach you to make kibbeh? You know, my grandmother, she was the first Syrian caterer in Brooklyn in the 1940s and 50s. And after school, my mother would drop us there and we would sit in the kitchen. And her kitchen was in the backyard. It was in the garage of her house in the backyard. And people would walk up this narrow alley to her house. And in those days, there were no social halls. There were no ballrooms. You know, if you had a brit milah in the house, you had a wedding, you went to the synagogue to get married, and then you went to the house for the party. So my grandmother would cater all of those things. And people would come and they would buy from her. They would buy from her kibbeh and lahmacun and all the foods. And we would go after school and she would give us one piece of dough and she would try and teach us to make the kibbeh. And we'd sit there and we'd like this. And she would have a whole tray finished in the time we were making one, my sisters and I. So I felt it's important to teach the next generation how to make these foods. And I got all her recipes and I wrote a cookbook. I wrote the app, Sarina's Sephardic Cuisine, and we embedded the app with videos on how to make difficult foods. Now we also have released a cookbook, and it's the first in a series. The series is called Backyard Kitchen. The first one is Backyard Kitchen, Mediterranean Salads. The next one will be Backyard Kitchen. It'll be entrees. So each one will have a different theme to it. And so we're very excited. And the cookbooks are on Amazon.
In Amazon?
Amazon,
okay.
Backyard Kitchen, yes.
Can we find it right now?
Yes, you can find it right now on Amazon.
Perfect.
And the photography is amazing. We also made the cookbooks a small size so that you could actually use them in the kitchen. Not a big, heavy coffee table book, but something you could use in the kitchen, a spiral binder, you can turn the pages back. Very easy to use, and you can even wipe the pages.
Nice. I want one for me. What is your favorite dish?
I love to make cheeses. I make Syrian cheese. I make Swiss cheese. My family, they love cheeses. They love to make different kinds of cheeses. And this is something that most people, they don't know how to make cheeses. So we love to make the Swiss cheese especially. And that's become something that I'm known for.
And now that we are talking about food, tell me, do you like Mexican food?
I like the Mexican accent to the food. I've eaten at the homes. I was invited here in 2008 also to give a presentation at a congress. And at that time, I was taken to a few homes to eat the siesta meal. And I noticed differences from the food we had in New York to the food here. And I started to apply some of those. So, for example, there was a soup that I always made. It's a tomato rice soup. We call it shulba. And here, she put mint and lemon in the soup. It was delicious. So I went home and I added it to our soup. And everybody in my family was like, ooh, this is good. So now so I like to learn about the way local people adapt the same food. Because, people say, like, what is Sephardic food? Well, it's adapted from whatever is around you, whatever ingredients are around you. So I like to see how the Syrian families here in Mexico City adapt their food from the old food in Halab.
Yes, we are a great mixture of cultures in the kitchen. Sarina, I know you have worked with the United Nations. How do you describe that experience?
It was really interesting. At the time, I was working for Jewish National Fund. I was National Director of Marketing and Communications for the American Jewish National Fund. And we used to go all over the world because they're the experts in trees. And so I was appointed to meet with the delegations. And when I was there, I said, why don't we apply to the United Nations as an NGO? And they had never done it before. So I did the application for them, and we were accepted. And this was really very rewarding. And we got to go to the United Nations for meetings and to do presentations and for conferences, and also to meet with other Jewish organizations, other Jewish NGOs who had the same status in the United Nations.
Sarina, you are also a great marketing leader.
Yes.
So I want to ask you, in the technology world we're living in, are human resources still as important as they used to be?
Yes. There has to be a human element to everything we do. Frequently with email communication or with simply technology communication, virtual communication, something is lost. The tone, the camaraderie is lost. So you have to have some personal interaction to understand what the other person means and also what is intended. Even the most technologically advanced companies have some human element involved in their communications. Public relations is about contact. It's about connecting. In the world of nonprofits, I can send as many emails as I want. I'm not going to get someone to donate unless I have a personal connection to the person who's donating the money. So technology is great, but people act on a human interaction. I think we can do a lot with technology, but I think that you cannot eliminate the human element.
I totally agree. Sarina, once the management of a $70 million business was in your hands, how did you handle that responsibility?
This was a very interesting experiment for me. I had completed work with an organization, and a friend of mine came to me, and he knew me from Toastmasters, which is a public speaking club, and he said, I need someone like you who's a good leader in my company. He said, I don't have anyone like you, and I think that we would be a match. Let's try it. So I tried it for a couple of months, and then he appointed me as COO. And the culture was very interesting because it was Satmar Jews. And they were very religious. I was the only woman in the company, and I was the only educated person in the company, because Satmar Jews, they don't get high school diplomas and they don't go to college. And they are raised completely with Yiddish, at least in New York, this company. So they can't read and write in English. And you can't be a company that big and communicate outside the world globally without having someone who can communicate in English. So that was me. I was the person who put the public face on the company, who raise the level of professionalism for the company in terms of, this is the right way you do things, and this way is not the right way to do. This is more diplomatic. This is the way that we talk to people. So teaching them proper manners, proper way to communicate with each other. But then there were operational issues that I had to deal with. So, for example, when I started with the company, they were their computer operations were not at the level they needed to be. They had a big department that shipped on Amazon. The orders would come in and they couldn't find the items in the warehouse. So after examining the operation, I saw that they had no way to record the way that the shipments came in and where they put them on the shelves. So I created a system for them to record all incoming, all receiving shipments, and then to have the people who fill the orders, they call them pickers, have a computer printout that they can go and take the items off the shelves easily and fill the orders. And we improved the software. And within 1 year, we went from 1,500 packages a day to 15,000 packages a day with the same staff. And this improved operations tremendously. So these are the kinds of efficiency improvements that I had. And then they had to move to bigger facilities, and I left.
Well, working in both marketing and genealogy fields, which one do you like better?
I like solving problems and knowing that what I do makes a difference. That's what I like. I like exploring, investigating, figuring out issues, and making improvements that will affect people's lives. That's what I like.
Well, Sarina, I hope your visit in Mexico continues being nice.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your time.